Good morning, everybody. Technically good evening, but good evening, everybody, and welcome to another video with Jilly Red. However, today we're going to do a very different kind of video. We are going to be doing a little bit of a mini book review of the few books that I've read over the last couple of weeks, really. The first one I have is one that I've actually read I've read loads and loads of times, and you can probably tell by the actual state of the cover. It's a very well-read book, and it's very old, actually. Like, I remember reading this when I was, a lot younger. I absolutely love this book. It's told from first person of you're following Amber, and it's about her. It's just general life, and that's what I liked about it. It was very down-to-earth sort of reading, and it's about this young girl who's a little bit of a commitment phobe, and she's starting to realise that she likes or is in love with one of her kind of close friends that she's been friends with, who's also her best friend's boyfriend's best friend. And for her, it's like it's the wrong, because he's a bit of a player and he's gone around with loads of people. Just focuses on her sort of trying to come to terms of realising what she wants and realising that she actually does want a bit more commitment, and sort of having to deal with it. And she doesn't deal with it very well. And it's a very interesting plot, and I love this one. And I do love Dorothy Comson, the writer at all. I've got a lot of her books, and I love a lot of her stories, and they're very emotional. And I just remember rereading this so many times and just loving it. And I just love everything that it brings me. It's very nostalgic for me, I think. That's why I like to read it now. I am more into more fantasy sort of stuff more now. Oddly, I'm quite into more thriller kind of stuff. Maybe not thriller, but thriller action. I've got a lot of those books. But this one is like one of the ones from when I was really young. I think the thing that I like so much about her book was that obviously it's all about chocolate as well. She talks about chocolate, about how people are like chocolate, and like her mum's toffee, and it's just layers of toffee, and her mum wasn't toffee. Her best friend's boyfriend was just toffee, and underneath that toffee was more toffee, because basically he was very boring. But actually, obviously the twists and stuff in the book and at the end kind of make it as well. It just makes you look at your own relationships, I find, and looks at the way that you are around people. And I like the emotional development that Amber goes through. It really sort of like develops into something better. And so I really recommend Dorothy Comson, The Chocolate Right. Actually, it is my favourite of Dorothy Comson's series. Right, and you can tell by how horrible and ratty the front cover of it is. One that I read really recently, which I wasn't given this, I bought this one. I don't know, I looked at the cover and it said I'm missing, and it talks about a man who wakes up and he doesn't know who he is, he doesn't know where he's come from, and they put out a bulletin being like, help me, I don't know who I am, I don't know where I've come from, I don't know what's going on, everything like that. Or goes to a private investigator, which is David Raker, Mr. Raker, goes to a private investigator to help find himself, almost find who he is. The twists in this book are amazing. What happens in there. This man is somehow related to this dead body that's found, a body of a girl. And it's just so phenomenal, like the path that you go down. And I was the whole time, I was always just questioning. I was like, well, where is this going? Where is this going? What is the answer? What's the answer? And it was really odd, the answer at the end. Like, for some reason, you just keep questioning it and looking at it and thinking, where could this go? And that's what I liked so much about it, is that it pulled me in to the point where I just had to keep reading it. I could not stop reading it, because if I stopped reading it, then I'd never know the answer. And I really want to get some more of Tim Weaver's books. I've seen he's got a lot of these sort of missing person story books, which I love this one, so I'm thinking I need to get some more. There's a huge big plot twist, I think, if you read the excerpt from his next novel, which is really interesting, which I really want to read, but I think it's out soon. So I'm going to have to get some more of his books and get reading. This next book, okay, I know people might not like my opinion on it, and they might not agree with it, but I'm going to be honest. And that is All That She Can See by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I've watched Carrie, and I've watched her for a long time. I don't know her. I don't claim to know her. I've just watched her on YouTube. So I bought All That I Know Now, and I bought that for my sister, but I don't think I actually read it. I do believe that Carrie needs she needs work. She needs to work on her story writing, because I had to force myself to finish it, because I didn't feel connected to the characters. I thought they were very basic. I found that the names were almost forced. I didn't feel like they fit the characters, which is a very odd thing to feel, because it's not like when you write your own story and you can come up with your names. It was just, for me, it was really odd to feel that their names were wrong, which I've never really felt reading a book before, or a story. Maybe fan fiction, stuff like that, I felt that before, but this is what I felt reading this, is that I felt very disconnected. I've found spelling errors in here and grammatical mistakes, which obviously for a published book makes, it's not the best thing to be showing to everybody in the world. That's not necessarily her fault. People make mistakes all the time, and they're only little things, and obviously, but if you notice them, it kind of like stands out to you. I found that the progression of this story was really odd. I found the concept of it, the idea of like seeing your emotions and seeing like your attachments and the things, I like the idea of it. I just don't think it was very well executed, is how I'd say it. Like the idea of the emotions, you can see them, like loneliness, mischief, everything like that, and how they make you feel, or what actions that they make you do. I think the idea is very good, but I found them all to be quite false. The story progression was off. It starts off obviously focusing on Cherry and her baking these feelings into pies to make people feel better. And like for half the story, it's about her and her moving to a new place and meeting another person who also sees what she can see. It's almost like he can see the good things rather than the bad things. And then they have like a turf war of like who could make people feel different things and stuff like that. Like that's where it goes. I don't want to obviously spoil it for anybody who does want to read it. And it becomes odd because I wouldn't say it was a twist, because it's not really a twist. It's almost like it was added in as an afterthought, and it was not well done at all. Like there's basically a guild, and it's literally called the Guild. It's called a guild, the guild of, and they're called feelers, and I found them to be so jarring. It just makes you, it's almost off-putting, saying, oh, the feelers, and we're going to the guild. I just feel like it could have been far more imaginative, far more inventive, considering it's a completely other world. Just the way it was executed wasn't very good. I wouldn't say there was any real subtle hints that there was anybody watching them ever. There was never anything in the background that make you think that, oh, there's something bigger going on. And that was why when this person showed up and caused issues for Cherry and her life, it felt just so jarring, and it felt just almost like wrong for the story. I believe that if the book had been focused more on just Cherry, and like if there was no guild at all, no big trying to be an action almost at the end without it actually being an action book, I guess, I think it would have probably been perceived a bit better. I do find that Carrie has a lot of potential. She can go so far with her writing. She just needs to write more. She needs to write more and more and more. And nobody's going to be good straight away. She's young and nobody's going to be good straight away. But I do feel like she needs more direction. The publishers themselves are almost hanging on her name, like Carrie Hitt Fletcher, because she's got 600,000 followers, I think, maybe more now, on YouTube. And, if I had that many followers, I would be writing books already. And I think that's a great idea. But for me personally, I wouldn't want to write books that aren't good. And I've been writing a book right now, and I've said to people before, I want to write more, but I don't think I have the capabilities to be a good writer. I think my idea is good, but I don't have the skills to execute it very well. Whereas I know my friend Lorna, she writes so well, and I love reading her writing, and she's very smart and smart when it comes to writing, so she knows really how to really make her words play. That word that she is able to play with so eloquently is absolutely fantastic, and I would love to read a book by her. But I think that obviously because Carrie has a big following, they've hightailed it on her name. I've always been the kind of person that would think, if you're given an opportunity by somebody who maybe is related to you, yes, somebody else might not have this opportunity. You might as well take it, because take what you have, and do what you can with what you have. And I do agree with that. But I feel like her publishers should have more direction, or at least more control, and say to her what is working and what's not. Because that is really important to me. And I find when it comes to things like relationships, like the original relationship with the two protagonists in Carrie's book, it was very fraught at the beginning, and then as soon as a little hiccup happened, it suddenly became more than that. And it wasn't a very smooth transition. It was almost like they hated each other and then they didn't. And I found it to be very it was just wrong. It wasn't right for the setting. I didn't feel like the characters really connected to each other truly. I didn't feel like they were connected at all. There was a lot of problems I found with the book. I'm not saying it's a terrible book, because I know for a fact I have written worse stuff. I have written awful stuff. I'm not saying it's that bad a book. I think it's definitely for more of a younger audience. I think this was aimed at older people, but I don't personally believe it's... I think it's more for like young preteens would be the best people to read this, because that's the sort of writing style it follows. So that's why I don't think I would recommend reading this to anybody who's my age. Maybe to your children, or, you know, your friends' children, or any, you know, anybody else, or your younger brothers and sisters. Personally, I wouldn't recommend this. I do think she's got a hell of a way to go, and the only way of doing it is by trying. Finally, the last book I've read is Jack Reacher's The Midnight Line, which is this brand new book, and I absolutely loved it. Jack Reacher's, I honestly, Lee Child's Jack Reacher books are phenomenal. I'm in love with them, and seeing The Midnight Line was so good. Jack Reacher is an ex-military cop, and you follow him in so many, he's got so many different books and so many different stories, and I've read maybe half of them, barely that, and I just want to read them all. And you're following Jack Reacher, has no family left, he wanders alone, and he just lives his life day by day. You know, he might stay in the town for a day and then he'll move on. You know, that's the kind of person. He doesn't have a home, he doesn't have an address. All he has in his pockets generally is his debit card and a toothbrush, normally. That's really it. Oh, his passport sometimes, but I know his passport ran out, so I don't know if he actually has a passport anymore, because he doesn't have an address. Following him, and he's just... Honestly, Jack Reacher is amazing. I also read his other book, which was loads of short stories, and it was so lush seeing like Jack when he was younger, which was really odd. Like seeing him as a child was so fun, and he was brilliant then, and he is brilliant now, and I absolutely love the Jack Reacher books. This one, The Midnight Line, follows him when he finds another... It's a military cop's signet ring. It's a very important ring because people who've gained it have gone through hell and training to get it, and he knows that because obviously he's been from that sort of thing. So for it to be in a pawn shop is often a bit more worrisome for him, and he just took hold of it, and he's just trying to find an owner. He slips into a lot of trouble and into a very darker storyline, as is normal of Jack Reacher, and finds himself fighting bad guys as he always does. And if there's any like sort of action stories you want to read, you need to read Jack Reacher. Tom Cruise played him in the movie adaptations from, and I absolutely hated it because Tom Cruise is tiny and Jack Reacher is like 6 foot something tall, of like, you know, and he's built like a brick shithouse. And he's massive, and Tom Cruise played him, and Tom Cruise is smaller than me. He's like 5'4" or something. So I was so annoyed when he played him, and I just felt it didn't fit him. And I don't really associate the films with the Jack Reacher books because I don't think they worked. They're very exhilarating, but not scary. What I love so much about the writing style of Lee Child's books is that it's just like Jack Reacher. Like Lee Child almost is Jack Reacher in a way. Obviously he is because he's writing him, but the way the story's written, it's almost very short sentences, direct to the point. A lot of that, and that's how Jack Reacher is. Jack Reacher is direct to the point. He's like, if you say to him as like he's not the kind of person to, you know, stop and smell the daisies. He's not the kind of person who's going to sit there and have needless talk. Like he's not going, oh, hey, how are you? How's the weather? He's not that kind of guy. That's just not who he is. He's very blunt and to the point. And that's what I love about him, is that it's just so direct in your face. Try and find an example. I'll just read some of the chapter 19. It was in a mud room near the back door, in a closet where snow clothes were kept. A pair of snow pants had slipped off the hanger. Some kind of stiff nylon. That's 4 sentences, all went straight up, and it's just like that, and it's just like that so many times throughout the book. And even his conversations with people are very, very basic. Like, we think the driver's a woman. Okay. She looked kind of small. She was turning away. We didn't see her face. The woman said nothing. There was a silvery colour. Oh my God. The same as you saw before. Here, we followed the track right in. You're going to give me nightmares. Like, it was just everything about it is just so Jack. I cannot recommend Lee Child's books more. They're fantastic. They're phenomenal. And they're such good writing. And I love them to pieces. And I can't wait to read more. and I want more. I want more always. Please, Lee Childs, you're so good and I love what you do. I've got one other book that I'm reading of Lee Childs right now, which is another Jack Reacher book. I find with Lee Childs books, I have to read till I finish them. I just want to read it until I stop, and it's really awkward sometimes because sometimes I'm going to work and I'm just thinking about it, like, what happened, you know. And people just ask me, I was like, are you okay? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just thinking about a book. Those are my 4 sort of like the books that I've read the past quite recently. Like I said, please take all my reviews with a grain of salt. I don't review books, so I don't really know what I'm doing. I just wanted to talk about some of the books that I loved and some that maybe I loved not so much, and just talk about some books. I'm hoping to read some more and do some more like book type reviews, or just give you my recommendations. If you guys have any recommendations for me, please put them in the comments down below, because I would definitely want to read more, because I absolutely love reading. And I have a little bookcase upstairs, and I might end up rereading some books and like reviewing them, some of the ones that I loved. So I might read some more books. There's one I'm reading at the moment that was highly recommended. I can't remember, I think it was just a bestseller maybe. I'm reading that one now. But in the next video, I'll hopefully read some more. I definitely don't mind like moving or like going to different genres, because I love changing it. And honestly, I never thought I really like a thriller. I do like a good romance. I love one when they get, you know, I do love a good romance every now and again. But I don't know, the thrillers just are really like enticing. I love mysteries, I think. My problem is that I always want to find out very quickly what happens. And the worst thing I've done, or the worst thing I have done, is going to the last page and reading the last page. And I do it more often than you think. Way more often than I should. Because I ruin stories myself. And I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. And sometimes it's put me off finishing a book, which is bad because I can't help it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Okie dokie, bye!